Inserting the invisible zipper. That's the focus of this video presentation. Hi everyone, I'm Glenda with SureFit Designs, sometimes referred to as Glenda the Good Stitch. Well, I would like to show you how easy it is to insert an invisible zipper. And we're going to start off with an example here, just so that you know what the invisible zipper looks like if you're brand new to it. It's a zipper where, when it's in place, the only thing you're going to see is the zipper pull. The teeth are completely enclosed. So when you release it, there are the teeth inside. Right there, and you can see it because it's a nice bright orange and you can see exactly what the sample looks like. So now I'm going to show you how to insert that. And before I do though, I'm going to show you a very, very handy little technique for getting rid of what I call the zipper scratchies. And you can see on this sample that I've put a very soft piece of cotton interlock around the bottom of the zipper. And so let me show you that process first. I've bought a number of these very, very long invisible zippers, and you can use them for any garment that needs an invisible zipper or a zipper. And if you need to shorten them, all you're going to do is decide how long you want that zipper to be. And I'm going to mark the back side of this too, so I've got a little chalk mark back there. And then I'm going to take that pin out, and this is a piece of cotton interlock. It's very, very soft. And so I'm going to start where my chalk mark is. I'm going to lay this piece of fabric down like this, about 1/4 inch below where my chalk mark is. And I'll just put a pin in to hold this. And this little piece of fabric is, anywhere from 3/4 inch wide to 1 inch wide. And it's about 2.5 inches long. So I've got a couple of little pins. And then what I'm going to do is just turn this over. Actually, I should have pinned this from the other side, so I'm going to reverse this because I want to be able to see my pins so that I can pull them out. There we go, that's better. And I also wanted to be able to see the chalk mark that I made on the zipper. So now I'm going to take this to the sewing machine, and I'm just going to sew across where my chalk mark is. And I want that to be a little straighter than what it's pinned, so let me release this pin and straighten it out. There we go. Just going to lay that right in place like that. And now I will stitch across, and I'm going to do a back stitch here to hold it in place and to lock stitch it. And then we'll go forward. Going right across that the coils of the zipper, and I'm going to back stitch it on this side. And take one more stitch and raise this up. Okay, now I'm going to, because I locked that, I'll just trim those threads and trim these threads right here. All right. Now, this little flap is going to come down and go around to the underside, so that when this coil, when the zipper pull comes down, it's going to stop right there. So now you can go ahead and trim off the portion of zipper that you don't want. And I'll just trim off about that much. And then, I'll move that out of the way. Then what I'm going to do is take this flap and I'm going to bring it up like this, so you can see that it completely encloses the edge of the zipper down here, which can tend to be scratchy on your skin. And then I'm going to take this back to the sewing machine, and I don't want that to buckle or curl underneath. Get the needle in and then lower the presser foot. And I'm just doing what's called stitch in the ditch now. I'm going to stitch right where I previously sewed. I am going to back stitch this, and I'm a little bit off the ditch, but that's okay. I think you get the idea. And we'll come across. I'm going to slow down a little bit as I go over that zipper coil to the other side. back stitch to lock it. And now I'll trim that and trim these threads. And then that went a little bit crooked, but what I'm going to do now is take my shears and I'm just going to trim this piece. Let me get in here. And you will find this so remarkably comfortable now against your body. So now we've got a garment that I'm going to put the invisible zipper into. And one of the situations that people often have when they're inserting an invisible zipper is kind of getting behind the whole orientation of what side of the zipper goes on what side of the garment. Excuse me. And so what I like to do is have the right side of my garment face up, and I am going to be inserting this down the center of the back of the garment. So there's the center back seam. And this is a right side, this is a right side of the zipper tape, and that's a right side. So I know that when this is finished, the right side of that seam allowance is going to be against the right side of that side of the zipper tape. So that orients it for me. So start at one side at a time, and then I'm just going to flip that back out, holding it in position as I do this, and then I'm going to go up to the top and start working the piece from there, start working the zipper from there. Now, a general guideline when you are placing and pinning the zipper in place is that you want this zipper stop to be 3/4 of an inch away from your cut edge, from that upper edge. So I've got my seam gauge set at 3/4, and that looks like it's about 3/4 to me, and it's pretty darn perfect right there. So I will take a pin and get that in place like this. Now the other thing that's important is that the coils of the teeth need to be 5/8 of an inch away from the cut edge, from my center back. So I'm going to measure, and I'll just move this over to the 5/8 inch mark. And so again, by eyeballing it, I've gotten pretty darn close to the 5/8 inch position. And so that pin is fine. If not, you'd have to manipulate that and move it around. But now what we want to know is how far away is the edge of that zipper tape away from the seam allowance. And that is 3/8 of an inch. So now I'm just going to move this over to 3/8 of an inch, because now what I need to do is pin this zipper. This is awkward where I'm sitting this, holding this in place, but I need to pin the zipper tape 3/8 of an inch away from my raw edge, from that seam allowance. The zipper tape on my invisible zippers is actually narrower than the standard width of the typical invisible zipper that you might buy at your fabric store. So just be aware of that when you get your invisible zippers, and what's most important is that the zipper coil is in fact 5/8 of an inch away from the cut edge of wherever you are inserting your zipper. So there we have the placement of this. Now it's really, really important that you keep this 5/8 inch in place, meaning that the zipper teeth are 5/8 of an inch away from that cut edge of your fabric. And so what I'm going to suggest now is that you baste the zipper tape down to the fabric. And one other thing I should mention to you, when you take your invisible zipper out of the package, there's going to be creases and bends in it. And so please take it to the ironing board and press the creases out. You'll want to use a press cloth, and turn your iron down to synthetic because you don't want to melt these zipper coils. And then the other thing that you'll want to do besides pressing out the little bends and creases in the tape is you'll want to take the coil and just move it out slightly. Okay, now before I go onto my sewing machine, let's see. I need to show you about the feet that you're going to use. And of course on my sewing machine right now I've got the regular machine foot, but I need to remove that because I'm going to first of all baste that in place. So I'm going to use the zipper foot that came with my machine, and I'm going to set it so that the needle is going down the left-hand side. And I'm also going to take the stitch length and move it up to the longest basting. And then I'll just set the needle down at the beginning of the tape and remove this pin and start sewing. And of course this is basting, so you don't need to back stitch up there. Your pull for your zipper, that needs to be all the way open. So I'm going to take it down to that little tab that I created at the bottom. So now that one side of the zipper is basted in place, now it's time to change and put on an invisible zipper foot. And if you can get an invisible zipper foot that goes with your sewing machine, this is far easier than working with these universal zipper feet. This is what you would find in a fabric store generally carries these. And what you're going to see here is multicolored shanks and the bottom of the foot. And this little blue shank, that's for the older machines that threaded from the left side to the right side of the needle. This yellow one, that's for a slant needle machine. And this red one here, that is for the machine like I've got, which is when you take your zipper foot, or any foot off for that matter, and you lower your presser foot down, the distance between that screw and the throat plate is 1/2 inch, so that's a short shank. And it's just kind of fussy to get that all. You have to take the shank off and put this on. And that's why I went ahead and got a specialized zipper foot. But what I want you to see is that both of them have a little groove. And this groove, let me get my pointers here. This groove right there is the left-hand side groove, and this one is the right-hand side groove. And those little grooves are going to go over the zipper coils. And you can see that same thing on this clear plastic foot. It's just not quite as easy to see, but there's a groove right there and a groove right here. All right, so it's the this foot that I'm going to put on, and so that the thread feeds down underneath the foot, I'm just putting the thread through the hole where the needle's going to go on that foot, and then I'll slide that invisible zipper foot in place and just put it in. Put it down like that. Okay, now I'm ready to stitch this coil on this side of the zipper. So I'm going to start and I'm going to feed this edge right in that first groove on the left-hand side. Now at this point you do want to turn your stitch length back to regular, so I'll just push the button there and get it going and start feeding the zipper through. At this point I will back stitch, and now you just want to carefully go over the zipper stop, making sure that the coil is in the left-hand side. And I will back stitch at the bottom here. You can only go so far, and that's it. Back stitch to lock it, And that side is done. Now the easiest way to orient this for the other side is I'll zipper it up just a little way, like that. And I'm going to lay right sides together. So this zipper is going to fold out this way. And I'm going to take the right side of the fabric and I'm going to lay it over top like that. So when it's completely done, I know that I've put it all together properly. So now with this orientation, there's the right side of the zipper. It's folding on me. I'll just hold it. I'm going to take the right side of the fabric and I'm going to lay it over top. And then I'm going to flip it this way. So an invisible zipper is always set into the seam when the seam has not been stitched, first of all, has not been basted closed. And now what I'm going to do is establish the 3/4 of an inch away from the cut edge at the top. It's my seam gauge here. And so it's from the zipper stop. Let's see, we'll get this at 3/4. And that again was a pretty darn good guess on my part. That's 3/4 of an inch. And I also need to be 3/8 of an inch away from the cut edge. So let's move this over to 3/8, and that's pretty good. So now I'm going to pin this coming down at 3/8 of an inch. The zipper tape on my invisible zippers is actually narrower than the standard width of the typical invisible zipper that you might buy at your fabric store. So just be aware of that when you get your invisible zippers, and what's most important is that the zipper coil is in fact 5/8 of an inch away from the cut edge of wherever you are inserting your zipper. And now the next step is you'll want to baste that zipper tape down. So I'm going to remove the invisible zipper foot and put my regular sewing machine foot back in place. Not regular sewing machine foot, the regular zipper foot is what I wanted to say. But this time I've set it so that the needle is going down the right-hand side of the zipper foot. And we'll take this and set it in here. And I need to reposition this pin so that I can grab it out easy. And I do want to take the machine and set it back to basting and lower the presser foot and baste this down so that you're really securing the zipper coils at that 5/8 inch distance away from your raw edge. And that's as far as you can go. And now we are going to take that and stitch it down permanently with the invisible zipper foot. So I'll take that one off and once again take my top thread and feed it through the hole that's on the foot just to get the thread going in the correct orientation. And set this in place, and this time you're going to take the right hand groove and you're going to feed the coils through the right hand groove of the invisible zipper foot. Oops, and I do want to change that back to regular stitch length. just go as far as it will allow you to go. And then back stitch, and it's finished. Now we'll want to zip this up. So there are the two pieces, like that. And you're going to zip it up. And the top, I'll put that on the beige board there. The top is absolutely perfect. There's your little zipper pull right there. Now what you need to do is finish off the inside down at the bottom. So we're going to take it like this, and at this point you want to move that the tape and that little oh, what did I call that? Like your little protection to get the scratchies away from you. You want to move that away, and then I'm going to take this and sew from where the zipper is stopped. I'm going to sew down about 2 inches. And I need to do that with a regular zipper foot. So we'll take this one and put it back in place. And move the tape out of the way. And I'll put some pins in here. And you want to stitch down about 2 inches. And so pulling that out of the way, you're going to be getting your needle in as close as you can to that line of stitching that's right there. And that was one of the stitching lines that held down the coils. We'll get this in place. And I put this foot on backward. There we go. And now the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to move it over in position just a little bit so that I can get, again, in as close as possible to that line of stitching. And this is on regular stitch length, and it's going to be 5/8 of an inch wide. And as I say, stitch down for about 2 inches with your zipper foot, and then you'll pull that out and finish your seam normally with your regular zipper or with your regular foot. And now at this point, you can take what's left of your zipper tail here, and you can attach it to the seam allowance. So we will do that. Let's see, which one do I want to do first? I think I'll do I have to move the zipper foot to the other side. There we go. And I'm going to take that back. So now I'm going through just the tape of the zipper, and I'm starting where basically I stop my stitching for the basting, and I'm going to lower the presser foot, and I'm attaching just to the seam allowance only. So that's going to hold it down nice and secure. And your regular stitch length is fine for this. I will back stitch a couple stitches and then connect down. And that finishes off that side. I've got a lot of threads here, but I'll come back later and clean them up. And then I'll do the same thing on the other side. And it would look like this. So it's just the zipper tape and the seam allowance that's at the center back. And that's going to hold that zipper really nice and secure inside your garment. Okay, And there is one invisible zipper completely done, and it looks great. I just have to finish off the rest of that seam. But here we go, and it's a very simple and easy process. I hope you've benefited from the tips and techniques that I've shared with you on how to insert this invisible zipper. I know once you start doing them, you'll get the hang of it, and each and every one after the first one will get easier and easier. If you've enjoyed this video, and I hope that you have, please make sure that you join the SureFit Designs community. And the way that you do that is in 3 easy steps. Number 1, make sure to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and it's just SureFit Designs. Number 2, make sure that you go to surefitdesigns.com and sign up for our newsletter. It's an email format, and when you do, you're going to get free gifts to get you started. And thirdly, please make sure you join our Facebook group, and we have a community of people from all over the world who are interacting with one another, sharing their projects, their questions, and all the fun that they're having with SureFit Designs. I certainly do invite you to join us.